So these last couple ones are going to be all around strategic modeling. So the first one, very simple. The context menus are supposed to have changed. So we were looking in our test environment this week, and basically underneath that strategic modeling, where it says models and models consolidations, those names were supposed to switch to contain the word view afterwards. Very simple process. We don't see that in our environment. I opened up a ticket with Oracle to ensure that we're looking at this correctly. So we have a ticket open with them. They asked us to clear our caches, and we did that, and it still didn't help in this thing. We know that we have a good understanding that it should be in place just on the bottom left there when we're looking at different documentation around strategic modeling. We actually see that they've renamed it in the documentation, but again, we're simply not seeing it within our interfaces we're working with our application. Again, really a minor thing overall, really not going to impact anyone whether it says models or model view, but that is what that enhancement is related to. So the next thing here is new context menu within strategic modeling. So really this is just to help us navigate as we're doing different things within our strat plan. So in the past, if you wanted to go to an audit trail or do goal seeker or adjust your scenario manager, you essentially would have to click in that cell, and then there would be an action box over on the right after you click in the cell. They just wanted to try to streamline this, make the user experience a little more friendly, and now basically you can just right-click in that cell without actually clicking into it to actually make inputs. You can right-click in that, and that context menu is going to pop up right then and there. So again, nothing major from an enhancement standpoint, but really just a user simplification when it comes to strategic planning. Another thing, again, based purely on user interaction with the system, is you now have the ability to add sub-accounts. So adding sub-accounts would be adding, again, additional detail in your strategic model that you may not currently have. You actually have the ability to paste multiple accounts, sub-accounts at one time. So you can see here, you would simply right-click where you would want to add these sub-accounts, and you would just simply go to paste children. And you would simply, a pop-up will show up, and you simply type in all the different sub-accounts that you're going to want to show up. So you could put in 1, you could put in 2, you could put in 100. All those different lines you want to have show up, you simply click paste, and you see in the image over to the right, it's actually going to create those sub-account line items right on the fly. Whereas in the past, you would have to add all these sub-accounts one at a time. Basically, they've added the ability for us to do it in bulk, which is really helpful for those of us that need to continue to add sub-accounts to our models as we need to get more detail around our strategic planning. So the second to last piece here is after your model has been created, so if we already have existing strategic models in place, you are actually now able to go in and change your default unit, currency, and decimal places. You can actually do that after it's been created. You don't have to worry about creating a new strategic plan or anything like that. If for whatever reason some of these options that you set when you create that strategic model need to change, it's something we're going to be able to very easily do right from that model. You simply go to the action menu for that model that needs to change. You simply go to properties. You can see here it shows up with a drop-down, or you have the ability to change a number if we're talking about decimals, and simply change that model very quickly and easily without having to go through the setup of almost recreating that. So for whatever reason, some of those things would change, which hopefully is a pretty infrequent activity around changing some of these properties in your strategic plan. We still do have an easy way to pivot if it did come to changing some of those properties. And finally, the last thing here is they've made some upgrades to the reports itself that are created within strategic planning. So for those of us that have configured and enabled strategic modeling, you'll notice that when you create it, you get a lot of different reports that are essentially created for you, just based on information you're putting in from a template standpoint or from a custom model that you're putting together. And essentially what they've done is they've done things to streamline these reports to perform better. You also now have the ability to rearrange where reports are going to show up from an ordering standpoint as far as where you're going to click on them, and it even lets you hide reports that you deem unnecessary for your planning process. One call out here is with this release, when you go in and you check out that model to actually do some strategic planning, it's actually going to take a little longer as it's actually going through this first time, and it's applying some of these upgrades to those different reports. So we strongly recommend that you have an administrator log into all of your strategic models, at least initially here, before you have users going in, and actually save that model afterwards. So literally just go in, open and save. It'll actually save a lot of those properties, and that will it will save the upgrades that they're making to those forms, and that will just help. So as your users are going in and checking out, they don't have that wait time. the wait time is nothing major. It didn't take us more than half a minute to have those updates come into play, but it could be a good one-time thing that your administrator could take care of for your community.